Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be teaching you how to house wrap a house. We're going to talk about how to nail around window and door openings. We're going to talk about inside corners, outside corners, as well as Tyvekking on a gable truss. Okay, so we got our 9-foot roll of Tyvek here. We're going to overlap onto this next one about a foot. And then we're going to come down here to the bottom and flush up the bottom of our Tyvek with the bottom of the OSB. Okay, lift up. So after you go across the bottom, you can pull straight up from that line and nail it off. When you make that line across the bottom and you pull straight up and get the wrinkles out, that should square you to get the rest of the run straight. You can see when he's rolling it out, he's sliding his hands up it so that as he pulls, it still slides out. Now, before we come back here, we'll just keep going around. That way we can come back with a ladder and get it all nice at once. So now that we got our bottom and we pulled up in a few places, we're going to pull up the rest of the way around these windows here. So when you have a seam on an edge here, you want to put your staples parallel to the edge. When the staples are parallel to the edge, it makes it way harder for the wind to tear off. So anywhere that you think the wind might catch it and blow off, make sure to turn your gun so that the staples come out parallel. Here we are at the door opening, and we have our edge right here. We're going to nail all the way up each edge. Now when we get to the top, we do it a little bit differently. So up at the top of every opening, you can feel the edge here. And we're going to staple out at a 45 off the corner. And then we're going to stay about 6 inches above the opening to staple off. Same thing on windows. The bottom 3 edges, you want to staple right on that edge. But that top, we're going to go 45 off each corner and stay 6 inches above the window opening when we staple. Now we're going to go back and nail in these red dots here just to make sure that the Tyvek is not going to blow off. Now we're going to cut out these openings here. Now there's a couple different ways of cutting out openings on the Tyvek, but we'll explain what we do and why. The most common way of Tyvekking around these windows is to take the edge and you want to cut about 6 inches or 5 inches past the edge into the window. You just make them 2 lines here and you can fold that into the window and staple it off. On the bottom, you just cut it flat with the bottom. It's going to get tape that covers it. When you take those flaps and you fold them into the doors or windows, what we've heard is that when they spray foam next to the windows or doors, that spray foam actually shrinks a little bit, and since it's stuck to the Tyvek, it opens up an air gap. This is what we've heard, so we always cut our Tyvek flush to the bottom 3 sides. We cut it tight here. That way when the insulation shrinks a little bit, it doesn't leave an air gap. Now up at the top here, you can see we left these staples here for a reason. We're going to make a slit down at 45 right to the corner. Goes about 4 inches above the window. And then we're going to cut it. When we cut this, we're going to cut it up above the window opening about 1/2 inch. Now this flap here is so that when we put the window in and we tape it off, we can fold the Tyvek down over the window flange. This will keep the water continuously rolling over the window and it won't go down behind our tape. The reason we cut this 1/2 inch up is so that when we fold it down over the window, we can stick a piece of tape here to keep it from flapping. So we're gonna tack this up with a nail so that we can fold it down after we install the window. Now doors are cut out the same way as windows. Flush to each side, 45 up top, 1/2 inch gap on the sheeting. So this is what I was talking about the most common way of wrapping these openings is to cut this long and fold it over into this and staple it on here. Now, after we put the window in, they're gonna spray foam this. And supposedly that spray foam shrinks just enough to create an air gap where air might blow through here. If you guys understand this and you think that the other way is better to wrap it in, please comment below why. So behind me here and up above this row we just did, we have a 4-foot section that needs Tyvek on it. To do that, we're gonna cut this roll down to 4 feet. That way it's easy to roll it out around here. But before we cut it down, we're gonna use up this roll on other parts of the house so that we're not wasting a bunch of 4-foot rolls. Now we're gonna wrap around here and we'll show you guys how we do inside corners. So now on the inside corner, you wanna go past so you can give yourself some slack. Now we're going to use a level to push the Tyvek into the corner. We don't want any rounding on the inside corner because when the siders go to put in their inside corner piece, if it's rounded at all and they nail it in, it's going to rip this corner all the way down. So we want to make sure that it's a perfect 90 degree. So to do that, we're going to push the slack in with a level here. Make sure we're tight. And give ourselves some tacks on this side. And now that we're tight, we can tack this other side as well. This is what you want. You can fit a square all the way in there and it doesn't puncture the Tyvek. So up here, our Tyvek only ends about 4 inches above the door. So we're just gonna staple it off because the next row of Tyvek that goes in here is going to overlap our door flange. So we don't need to cut this back at a 45. So right here, we want to overlap this other side, but we're not ready yet. So we're going to run it out a foot long, cut it off, and then fold it back over so that we can just peel it off after we're done on the other side. Now a trick for cutting Tyvek is when you're cutting it with your razor, you want to angle the blade down. If you're cutting up, you want to angle it up. That makes it way easier to cut this house wrap. So right here, up above, we already Tyveked that wall when we sheeted it on the ground. If you guys want to see how to sheet walls on the ground and Tyvek them, click here. But for now, we're going to run a row below. And as you can see, we only have 8 feet about till the bottom of that Tyvek. Then we have that flap that's going to overlap. Since these rolls are 9 feet long, we're going to cut this down to 8 feet and run it here. So right here we have this step. So we can't start with the Tyvek back here. So we're going to roll out a section about yay big and start stapling it from here on. Then we can lay this out and cut it around this retaining wall here. Now this trick where you roll out excess Tyvek and start after, you're going to use especially when you get up sheeting around gables and eaves. You're going to roll some out, start in a ways, and then cut it as you push that back. So you kind of start in the middle and work backwards on one part. So yeah, you take the roll, go about there, nice. Okay, that's good. Lift up, 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 up. Now we can fold our overlap down over this. You always want the upper piece overlapping the lower piece so that the water runs over onto it. You never want it running behind the Tyvek. Now you can see there's a bunch of holes here because of our staples that we're holding it. Holes are okay as long as they're on top of a piece of Tyvek. If you get a hole above it, you want to throw some tape over it. So you can see up above me here, we already Tyveked this gable. We made sure to leave enough hanging below the gable that it will connect to our lower piece. Now we just screwed some boards to it to hold it so the wind doesn't take it off. So here's another gable that we Tyveked on the ground. And we have a roof, a little porch roof coming into this. So that's why we started our sheeting here. Now, anytime you're Tyvekking right above a roof, the shingles are gonna come up here, and then there's gonna be a piece of metal flashing that goes up the wall. So we fold this Tyvek back about 6 inches and staple it off so that after the roofers put the roof on, we can fold the Tyvek down over top of that metal flashing. Now, that applies whether the roof is sloping away from your wall or it's sloping next to the wall. Either way, you want to leave a little 6-inch piece of Tyvek folded up next to where the flashing is going to go, because we always want the water running down over top of the piece below it. In this case, it will run over top and run down the roof. Now behind me here, we have a large gable that we Tyveked on the ground. It's way easier to Tyvek gables on the ground, but if you do have to do it out of a basket, it's best to run the roll up parallel to the soffit. Then you run it up and run it down the other side. That's the easiest way to get that line and keep it nice and tight. For gables, when you're Tyvekking them on the ground, you often have a sloped cutoff. You can use that piece to finish out the gable. It will flip over and that line will be a perfect slant already. Now we have a lot of Tyvekking left. Some of it we're gonna have to do out of a man basket, which is way slower. You gotta go in holding the roll as the telly driver moves the basket over. Just go slow and make sure those inside corners are tight. You get as few wrinkles as possible. If you guys got any value out of this video, please subscribe to the channel because we're doing a video about every skill it takes to frame a quality house. Be sure to check out sheeting walls on the ground, where we put Tyvek on the walls before we stand it, as well as building gable ends on the ground, where we build the entire gable truss and the second truss in with outlookers, sheeting, Tyvek, and subfascia all in one go.